This episode of the Cantina Band is brought to you by Alpha Dog Systems. Listeners get 5% off any desktop PC by entering the discount code CANTINA.
Okay. New bar. Never been here. It should work.
You said that the last place we tried still got thrown out.
You got thrown out? What did you do?
I think it's the haircut.
Hey!
If my memory banks are functioning correctly, I do seem to recall you did burn the last establishment down to the ground.
I told you the Fire Eating Act was a bad idea.
That droid lies. I did not burn the last place down. Technically.
You know what, Josh, never mind that. Let's just set up shop over here.
Activating HoloNet. Connection established. Beginning broadcast.
And we're back! I bet you didn't think you were going to see us again. That's right, it's officially episode 1 of the Cantina Band. I'm Adam Paulauski, and of course, we finally got the hurricane known as Brian Brushwood to sit down and gush some more. Hey, Brian, how you doing?
You broke my brain with your logic puzzles. We're back with episode 1? How can this be?
Because we started with episode 0.
Okay.
You know, I think that first episode is great for anyone who hasn't been keeping up on the news. Just sort of a general, here's where we're at. And some stuff's exploded since last time we talked, hasn't it, Brian?
I feel terrible that I've been on the road. For those who don't know, I've seen my own house, I believe, 3 nights in the last month. I've been on tour all over the place. Yeah. And I've been reading all the news. I've been excited about it. And I keep thinking like, oh, this will be great. I can't wait to talk about this with Adam. But then, you know, of course, life happens. And then finally, we carved out tonight. We have 20 minutes. Go.
So to set the expectation, we want you guys to know we are not going to be a weekly cutting edge news dissection show. Like, you know, there are so many other fan sites out there that do that well.
We love those
everybody
guys.
Knows Darth Hater. Everybody knows Toro Wars, you know. And these guys do it really, really well, you know. So we're
going to be the stoner burnout brother to those podcasts.
Exactly.
Who shows up late to the party.
Exactly. But we're not alone, and I don't want to get too far in here. So Brian, why don't you brought someone to the table today to join us in the discussion? Who do we
my
have
gosh,
here?
you have no idea how excited I am to introduce Mr. Josh Augustine of PC Gamer Magazine and TOR Reporter. How are you doing, Josh?
Ahoy, I am doing fantastic. It is great to be here with you guys to help, I guess, kind of disappoint our older siblings together.
Exactly. Well, Josh, it's really nice to talk to you. I've been paying attention to your show and I've really been enjoying it. And, you know, I know Brian knows all the PC Gamer guys, so he came to me and said, hey, what do you think about having Josh on? And I went, that's a great idea. So welcome. Nice to talk to you.
And actually, not to take anything away from you, Josh, but you have a reputation, because originally I asked Chris, I was like, hey man, we need a guest. Do you want to do it? He's like, to be honest, I don't know nearly enough. You want Josh? Like, there was no question. He's like, get Josh on the show.
All right, the word's getting around. That's good. At least on tour shows, I can handle that.
Good. You have a reputation.
Exactly. So while we were gone, you know, we left off with dying to know when we're going to play this thing. You know, BioWare's been teasing us, and they finally dropped a release date at the gaming convention in Europe last week. Josh, the name's escaping me right now. Which convention was this?
I can verify.
Pressure. I can't handle it after all this buildup.
I know this one. This was at Strudelfest 8000. They dropped the lederhosen on us, and they verified that it would be December 20th, right?
December 20th in the States, 2011, and in Europe, it is going to be December 22nd. No word on the early access date, though. So this is the day that the game officially goes live. For those who have been pre-ordering, and we're paying attention to what they were doing when they pre-ordered, we were given an early access game code that we applied to our accounts, and that is a first-come, first-serve early access entry into the game. Now, they're not saying how long early access is going to be. Some folks are speculating weeks. The devs in Stephen Reed, the community manager, is making it very clear that it will be days, not weeks. Now, will it be 6 days or will it be 3 days? We don't know.
Yeah, tell me how disappointed you're going to be if it's like, 24 hours. And then, of course, it'll be like on a day that you have like a family outing, so you won't even get that.
Dude, even then, though, I'm not going to be bothered because, look, let's face it, not only everybody comes to an MMO like this with their own agenda. They're playing their game by their own rules. And for a lot of people, they look at this game as a race because they know they could get famous to be the first one to hit the level max. And so it does matter to actually have a day in advance, that kind of thing.
Yeah. It would be nice. I mean, I don't know how far you can level in a day. I know how busy you are, Brian.
Well, I mean, I'm not that guy. Let me make that very clear.
Yeah. Neither am I. I tend to be a very lazy grinder. I'm caught up in, stopping to smell the roses and look for the things that are lost in corners. And, that tends to be the kind of player I am. So I'm not racing to the finish line, so to speak. And, BioWare's making it, pretty clear, and from what I'm hoping is that, there's going to be stuff to do along the way. So you're not going to feel like you have to race to the end of the game, so, but yeah, I'm hoping it'll be a few days. And considering they released the pre-orders, I think at like 3 a.m. Eastern time, and I was still up because I'm a night owl, and my pre-order was done and my early game access code was entered by 3:30 in the morning. That morning. Wow. If I'm not in the first batch of early access, I'm going to be really annoyed.
I'm going to punch the nearest toddler I find. That's how mad I'm going to be. So, okay,
how about you, Josh? Have you? I'm hoping, considering you do a podcast on the subject, you've pre-ordered already, right?
Yeah. I'm totally set. I will definitely be that guy who is racing to the top. I'm actually going to be. Yeah, I'm going to be doing the review for PC Gamer, so I'm going to I won't even have to do anything else at the office. Like, my entire life will be dedicated to playing TOR, at least for the first few weeks.
Okay, so I heard a rumor, and you guys could confirm or deny this. Is it true that they're not even going to just open up the game to everyone all at once, that they're going to sort of sell in batches and make available so that in order to avoid a giant crunch that screws up the servers when everyone comes online?
Yeah, that is pretty much why they've been pushing the pre-order in advance. It's going to make sure you're in the game, when it goes live, because we're going to limit how many folks we're going to let into the game. They're arguing that they're going to do that to control the quality of the player experience at the beginning of the game. You let, several million people into the game all at once, it does clog the starter areas. You're fighting over spawns. It can create a bad environment very quickly if there's too many people fighting over the same content. So by limiting that, they're controlling that. But with the interest that's building in this, they're certainly making a decision to limit how much money they're going to make at the beginning.
Well, I think that from the beginning, they've really taken a long-term view on this project. And I could see that it would make a very smart decision to not crank up the money-making machine for the first 3 months just to make sure that it's not going to blow out and give yourself a bad reputation. Because so many games, for example, we talked about this off the record with Brink. Your initial experience with Brink was poor enough that you never really gave it a second chance. Whereas when I played it at QuakeCon with my buddies, I was blown away. I finally got it. I finally had the experience that they wanted me to have on it.
Yeah. What do you think, Josh?
I don't know. I mean, the marketing guys have to be pulling their hair out because if it was like November, then okay, they could do this initial release, then release more in time for Christmas. But basically, by limiting the number of boxes, you won't be able to buy this for Christmas unless you pre-ordered. So you'd basically have to I'd have to pre-order for my brother if I want to surprise him at Christmas with it. But it's great for the game. It's gonna make it a much better launch day experience. I remember World of Warcraft. I believe I had 4-hour queues.
I wasn't there at launch, but I had everybody playing.
Yeah, it was just brutal because it wasn't even that once you got in, sure, the spawns were getting stolen, you were getting ganked on PvP nonstop. But you couldn't even play. You had to wait 4 hours. It was my freshman year of college when it came out.
Point. I wasn't even thinking about the physical queues. Yeah.
Yeah, because me and my roommate would basically queue up, and then we'd go to the caf, get lunch, go back, do our homework. It's good because it really forced us to study, which was the only time that we actually got to study. And then just wait around for 4 hours until the queue popped. God help you if you missed it.
Go ahead, Brian.
I'm gonna have to force choke a bitch if that's how it goes with this game. There's no way I'm gonna put up with that.
It sounds like they're going to make sure that this doesn't happen because I mean, the amount of publicity would just be horrible if people, I bought it, finally it's here after so many years and I can't even play it. So it sounds like they got it under control.
Well, I went through this with Star Wars Galaxies. When that launched, they couldn't keep the servers up. Every day was, okay, you get to play, you'd be playing for maybe a couple hours, and then the server would go boom. And there would be rollbacks where you would lose everything you did for hours on end. And this went on for weeks and weeks at the launch of the game. And yeah, there is no, and that just speaks to the quality that BioWare has tried to bring to the table with every release, is the polish and the experience that the person's going to get the first time they play through that has to be, immaculate. So I think it says a lot about them. So we're all in agreement. It's a good move on their part. We're all going to be, we're kind of glad they're doing it.
Yeah, well, yes, I think you've got to have a managed release, and I think a lot of people have learned a lot from the likes of Apple, where Apple, they either do it very well or not at all. And I think they realize when it comes to the release, they need to either have your first experience be exquisite and everything you wanted it to be, or not at all. And if that means you don't even get into the game for a couple of months and you have to stand behind a velvet rope, look, man, works for nightclubs. Why wouldn't it work for an MMO? Because this is a place that we want to go to see and be seen, right?
Yeah, no, in a big way, absolutely. And, real quickly, just to kind of address what Josh says, what about surprising your little brother or your nephew or your cousin or your significant other with the gift of Star Wars: The Old Republic for the holiday season?
I would not be surprised if sometime in the next 3 weeks we saw somebody in marketing piece this together and start putting out like, hey, you want to give a gift, but you don't want to spoil it? You can pre-order it without them knowing. I mean, that's something that seems like it would be pretty easy to do.
I'm sure part of their strategy is also probably having X amount of number of physical copies ready for the shelves in addition to, so I'm hoping, you would think that would be a part of the plan.
And you know what? Also, keep in mind, like with digital, you would have to come up with a way to create scarcity. But at least with the physical media, you could guarantee that everyone who buys a box with a disc in it will definitely get in the moment they install it on their system. That's something that you could pre-select all of those IDs to definitely get you in from the get-go. But I don't know that they'll do that, though.
Well, yeah, we'll see. Well, that's just it. They want to make sure that every physical copy that's out there of the game gets that kind of access to the game right out of the gate. So
real quick, I wanted to get people's reactions on December 20th. Were you surprised, not surprised? How did this jive with your speculation on where you're going to be?
Yeah. How about you Josh? I'll go last. Josh, what do you think?
Oh, well, I for the past year, I've been holding on to like November 14th or something like that. I was sure that's the day it was going to come out. I was thinking that too. Yeah, you can absolutely tell that this was like a boardroom compromise decision. It's the developers always want more time. So the developers were like, we can't hit holidays. We'll do January. And marketing and sales, no, you have to hit holidays. And like, fine, we'll hit holidays, but we'll do it 4 days before, and that's it.
Right.
Yeah.
And to be honest, yes. I mean, not that I have any kind of insider sauce, but I had been hearing a lot of rumors that it's really the tech side, it's really the server support and the scalability of how many people are going to do it has been the chief concern. From what I've heard, and this is all rumor and speculation, I don't know anything firsthand, but it sounds like all the storytelling elements are there and the engine's there, but that they really just want it to work when it launches, and I can totally see exactly that kind of showdown happening behind the scenes.
Well, I think that's what those beta weekends were. They sent out the very public, well-known, we're starting a beta weekend. What, about a month ago, Josh? I think.
Yeah.
And they invited a ton of people to play just for the weekend. I think that's a scalability test more than anything else.
So real quick, Josh, are you an MMO fan in general, and this is just the latest clubhouse that you want to join, or is this a case where there's something about this game that speaks to you particularly?
Oh, I want to join every MMO clubhouse.
Really?
I probably have 10 installed on my computer right now.
What all do you play?
Yeah.
Let's see. World of Warcraft was my first big one. I played Star Wars Combine, which was actually like a text-based browser MMO for a long time.
Oh my god.
Nowadays I'm playing like DC Universe, Rift. Oh dear, I have to load it up to get my full list. I'm totally blanking.
Was it? I know one of the guys from PC Gamer was a fan of the Battlestar Galactica web-based MMO. That wasn't you, though,
Yeah,
right?
I have a friend who's big on that too.
That was definitely not me. I love the idea, but yeah, the execution was just it didn't work out so well.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you, for me, like the excitement of just even thinking about an MMO, the only MMO that I got really serious into was City of Heroes. And maybe it's a good time that they're going free to play over there, because it gives me an excuse to go back and experience my characters and remember all the things that I love about interacting in a virtual play space like that.
Yeah, that game, I mean, it's held up amazingly well. The thing about that game is, like, it sounds like you're not a big role player, but if you are, there's an amazing like role-playing community. Like, that's the only MMO forum that you can go on and just find the most eloquent, thoughtful posts. Like, there's no trolls. Well, actually, sorry, now that it's free to play, I'm sure there are trolls everywhere.
Right.
But before it was free to play, like, I went on there and people were like, well, I fear that my class is a little imbalanced, and here's my, long essay detailing why. And then the responses would be like, hey, that's a great point, but what about this idea? It's just like, what? These people are way too polite.
Yeah, well thought out, nice, thoughtful, care about the community, care about the game. Yeah, I've heard that about the City of Heroes stuff. So you're an MMO fan in general. What's the one that has eaten a part of your soul over the last, say, 8 or 9 years then?
Oh man, World of Warcraft ate so much of my soul. It ate all of my college. And then I actually worked on the official World of Warcraft magazine for about a year as well.
Oh wow.
So tell me, if you probably are more plugged into the WoW community than I am, but I had originally thought that there was going to be some kind of showdown between the hardcore WoWers versus people who wanted to jump over and play Star Wars: The Old Republic versus those who want to dabble in both. But the people I've spoken to, and obviously this is a very small sample size, but the vibe I'm getting is that a lot of the WoW communities are like, yes, we're ready for a new playground. We will all migrate over. We're going to keep our same guilds with the same names and just jump straight from one ship to another. And maybe there's lip service about like, oh no, we'll kind of do both. But the vibe I'm getting is that SWTOR really can steal a big chunk of the WoW money share.
Oh yeah, totally. And that just changed in the past 6 months. Like right after Cataclysm, everyone was really excited. And then the past 6 months or so, everyone just got bored with WoW. Like, none of my friends log into it anymore. It's anecdotal, but I hear that same anecdote from everybody. Like, I just don't know anyone that's still playing it. Blizzard has said they're losing subscribers at the fastest rate possible. This is perfect timing for TOR, I think, because TOR is a game that's similar enough to WoW that anyone that played WoW will be able to jump in, and enjoy it and understand what to do. But it has so much newness. Just the setting alone, just the Star Wars setting is so cool that people are going to be jumping ship like crazy.
Well, and I think
this is what... Go ahead, Brad.
Oh, I was going to say, this is a natural segue into the other big announcement since we did our last episode, was that they announced the pricing, which is very similar to World of Warcraft. And in a world where most MMOs are all going free to play, some people thought this was crazy talk, that they're not going to do any free to play stuff, that they're going to charge. Break that down for us, Adam.
Let's see here. So pretty straight up, 1 month subscription, $14.99. 3 month subscriptions, when it looks like they're bundling in some discount if you buy months in advance. 3 months they'll do $13.99 a month, or if you buy a 6 month subscription, it's $12.99 a month.
And Josh,
I'm a little disappointed there's no lifetime sub being offered.
Oh yeah, no, that would be a money. I won't say money loser, but I could understand why. I mean, if you're the type of person who would buy a lifetime sub, why would they offer it to you?
Everybody's going free to play. I mean, you were just saying it. City of Heroes just went free to play. Now, World of Warcraft hasn't gone full on free to play. You hear more and more of that kind of complaint from the community about the microtransactions or charging for mounts and things like that. But they've offered up like the first 20 levels of the game for free forever, like an unlimited trial. So this is definitely bucking where everybody else, DC Universe Online, just launched not even a year ago. And they're like, we're going free to play because I think everybody's afraid of this juggernaut coming along. So and first of all, I think free to play.
I think this is the kind of thing that if you've got this much mojo, there's a dollar value to squeezing it for all it's worth, especially if they seem to be playing a little bit of the exclusivity game. The more I think about this nightclub metaphor, the more I like it, where it's like, I don't want the nightclub to make it easy for me to get in. I want to feel awesome for getting in at first. And then down the road, once everybody's done it, then go ahead and offer some way to get in for free. But is this pricing an exact tracking of World of Warcraft's pricing, Josh?
Yeah, it is actually down to the cent. I don't know about the European prices because I don't know WoW's European prices, but the dollars are exactly the same.
I mean, this almost is a shot across the bow. It's almost a statement of saying, yes, we are going to take over what you do with WoW right now.
Yeah. Exactly. Like, hey, you don't need to change your finances at all. Just change who you're paying.
Yes, exactly.
Well, and I think the game's also going to appeal to a different body of people who aren't into fantasy. They might like MMOs, but like I was one of those folks.
I am one of those folks, and it's like to me. I mean, that's the reason I loved City of Heroes is because and I'm gonna play Skyrim, but Fallout is such a more intriguing universe to me than Wizards and Goblins, and so. Yes, I mean, I think they will attract a lot of people, but then again, also Star Wars has always been a fantasy story wrapped up in sci-fi dressing. It's all
it's space opera. Yeah, it's exactly. Space opera at its finest.
You have wizards and you have rogues and you have thieves and bards and all these things.
But here's the thing. And this is why I think I'm just so incredibly stoked. Is not only the chance to play a new BioWare game, a new BioWare Star Wars story. But a Star Wars MMO is because I don't need to learn what a Hutt is. I don't need to learn who the Mandalorians are. I don't need to, have explained to me what a Jedi is. I've grown up in this universe. We talked about that a little bit last time. And I know Brian and I have had back and forth constantly about the Star Wars saga in general and what it means to us and growing up with it. And when I tried World of Warcraft, it was so hard to wrap my brain around who's this guy? Is he the same guy? Is that like what's going on?
Oh, you're saying you're talking about how the big advantage they have with this is that even though this is a brand new story and a brand new, completely separate timeline from the traditional Star Wars world, it's automatically one that people know enough of the language they can immediately step right in.
Bingo. And there's, I just think there's a world of players who have right now they're saying to themselves, yeah, that sounds great, guys. I'm not going to play that. Mark my words.
Oh, they're saying that now. Yeah.
Mark my words. When this game hits and it does what we're hoping it's going to do, it's going to change things and people are going to be talking about this thing for a long time. And it is going to bring, you're all going to come. You're all going to come join us.
Well, and
you're going to come taste the poison.
I guess let's, as we are wont to do, let's speculate wildly here. If you're placing money, Josh, how soon until we see an announcement of, from what I've heard, from what you just said, it sounds like you think a lot of people will jump from World of Warcraft. How long until we see that as an effect?
I would say as early as January of next year. I mean, as long as it takes for them to get that second batch of boxes out, because a lot of these people that Adam was just talking about are going to wait until they hear from their friends, the people that did subscribe, like, okay, what do you think? And then when those people say, oh, I love it, then they're going to go out and buy the boxes. So once that second wave comes.
Yeah, and I guess also there's going to be this brief period where everyone is under the delusion that they'll do both. And somewhere around, I'm going to say somewhere around July, it's going to strike them that, it'd be awesome is if I cut my MMO bill in half, and especially knowing that Warcraft will, or if it's anything, I know City of Heroes, even when you unsubscribe, you stop paying, your characters are still there. You just go reactivate your account. They're in hibernation and you can come back and play it. If that's the case with Warcraft, which I assume it is, then all of a sudden there's kind of no reason not to drop off your subscription, knowing that you can come back anytime.
Yeah, it's totally going to be worth spending money on. And
right.
I'm kind of in agreement. I think by middle of next year, we're going to really see it having an impact on, and this is when it's going to get interesting, because when this drops and becomes a status quo in the industry, and everyone's talking about it, everybody now knows, okay, well, that's what we're competing with now. What is Blizzard going to counteract with? We know they got Diablo 3 beta, but they're working on their super secret Project Titan, I think. Is that what it's called, Josh?
Yeah, Project Titan, the MMO.
Yeah, they're working on some secret new MMO. What,
are there any details that are known about it?
There's nothing official. Rumors probably about a year ago, the rumors were that it was a shooter MMO. We do know for sure that's a brand new IP, but we don't know anything about what it's about.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, speaking of shooters, that makes me think about one of the things that's supposed to launch with Star Wars: The Old Republic is the spaceship battles. When I was at E3 and we were talking through it, they said that the space battle would continue to be largely skill based, and that although you would be able to get enhancements with your level and to make
it's a more straightforward shooter. It's a much more like Star Fox or Rogue Squadron. In other words, the game's going to navigate your ship through a general path, and you're going to focus on a shooting gallery, killing the bad guys.
So
the footage they've shown, and there's like a nice 2-minute video they're showing on the site, if you go digging through like their official, posts and whatnot, that shows off space combat, and it looks like a whole heck of a lot of fun. If you're not going to be mad that you can't live on your spaceship 24/7 in space, you live on your spaceship, maybe, on the ground.
Well, but to me, that's what's great about the whole space thing is that I loved the idea of layers, for your villains or heroes in City of Heroes, but it was weird to leave this vibrant setting to go hide inside a box you were building for yourself, and to make it a thing that you use to get from point A to point B, I think hopefully will be engaging. And I like the idea of there being kind of an arcadey element to it. One of the things that they said during the E3 walkthrough was that especially the PvP, and I forget what term they use. What do they call the PvP arena spawn things?
War zones, I believe.
Yeah, that they wanted to create an almost Team Fortress 2 like experience, and like my brain exploded with joy because it's like, look, I don't mind mixing a little bit of skill with my RPG. That's totally fine with me. How do you feel about that, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. Having played a few Warzones, I think the TF2 line is just marketing. Like, there's nothing similar between those two games, any more than like WoW is like TF2.
Right.
I know I've played the game at PAX East. Brian played it for an hour like I did at E3. You've played it, Josh?
Yeah, I played it at PAX.
And if you've played a couple rounds of War Zones, how did it feel?
I did not get to play a War Zone, so I'm very curious to hear you guys chime in.
But I'm curious if Josh has played the War Zones and he can speak to it. What did you think of that experience, compared to something like Team Fortress 2?
I really enjoyed it. I'll probably compare it to WoW just because I think that's a much closer corollary than Team Fortress 2. Because it's very much like a WoW battleground, except that combat is slower paced, at least at the levels they had us playing at.
Slower than WoW.
Yeah, slower than WoW, so that there's not as much burst damage. You have a lot more time to react.
So in other words, if a player's new to PvP, and they're getting kind of, jumped on right away, that you're saying you have some time to kind of figure out what the hell I'm doing and react to what's happening to you? Because my experience with PvP is I'm usually dead in 5 shots.
Yeah, you don't. At least I never encountered that. Even when I was getting ganked by, I guess smugglers or the equivalents of rogues, like melee smugglers that kind of pop out of nowhere and start hitting you. Even that, like, you had time. The health pools are big enough that him stabbing you 3 times doesn't kill you. You can turn around, you can knock him back, and like a healer can come over and help bubble you. Or tanks. The cool mechanic in PvP that I love is tanks are able to guard people, which basically it redirects 50% of the damage that you would have taken to them instead.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I think that helps a lot in kind of slowing down the pace of things, because tanks are out there like, okay, no, you're taking half damage, and so you live twice as long. So you have twice as long to kind of think through and respond and react to anything that's happening.
Brian? I know you get competitive. I know you've played a lot of Team Fortress 2. You like to play the Twitch shooters, so to speak. What do you think about that?
Well, look, I mean, I don't know how much Twitch there's going to be in it. And I personally, I like anything that has the smallest amount of strategy. I like as slow as possible. For example, I was a little bit heartbroken that multiplayer StarCraft 2 had just one default speed setting, because I kid you not, like we would get in these giant battles all the way back to Warcraft 2, where we'd have 8 players and we always set it on the slowest setting mission, the slowest speed setting, because we wanted to be able to think through the ramifications of every tactical move. Because to me, if you're playing a tactics game, it's not tactics if it's important that you move fast. So I don't mind it slowed down for this. However, having said that, I love Team Fortress 2, and that is pure Twitch. And maybe there's a little bit of tactics. You ought to know the right places to set up your sentry or to hide or that kind of stuff. But in general, it's more a Twitch experience. I mean, look, I think it all boils down to, is it fun? That's really all that matters. If it's fun.
My PvP experience with that, more often than not, unless I was willing to roll the, as they call it in the MMO parlance, flavor of the month, that build that dominates all others in the PV, player versus player arenas, would get creamed in 3, 4, 5 hits. And it just sounds like what they're offering in war zones are going to give people who normally would give up trying once a chance to actually maybe get good at it.
So for you, you're not griping about PvP servers so much as you're excited to have a taste of the PvP experience, but in your own chicken kind of way.
Exactly. Like Brian and I talked about this when we rolled the guilds. He was like, "Oh, my friends are going to PvP," and I'm like, "But we're bringing too many people along."
No, I'm okay with PvE for the record. I'm happy to do that. And in fact, for somebody now don't get me wrong, if I could, I would love to be one of those hardcores who played all the time and could play on the hardcore server. I have very fond memories of looting corpses in Ultima Online in the mid-90s. But I recognize that I don't have time to do that, and I will not have a good time if I just get my ass handed to me repeatedly. So that's why I'm chicken as well, which is, make no bones about it. We are on PvE because we are chicken, whereas Josh is a true man. He's a true badass, willing to go out there.
Balls of steel. Josh, are you really on a PvP server? Why?
Oh yeah. What? Why not? Because I love that. I love that thrill of always having to look over your shoulder. Like, sure, you can turn on the flag, but no one really does. At least in my experience,
that's not true.
MMOs.
When I played Galaxies, they didn't do PvP servers. It was you flag yourself for PvP, and there was no shortage of PvP. Those players, if that's the mechanic, those players will use it.
Absolutely.
I mean,
but the difference here is that anyone that wants to PvP is going to be on a PvP server. So there's not really going to be people on PvE servers that, hey, I want a PvP. Because if they wanted a PvP, they would have chose that server.
I would agree with that in principle at first. However, I think what'll happen is over time, you're going to have someone like me who finally gets, like right now, me being a scaredy cat chicken, all I picture with PvP is dying a lot the way I did in Ultima Online, right? And so I'm going to do PvE, and at some point, I'm going to get up the confidence. I'm going to one night activate my flag, let my freak flag fly, go out, get in a battle, and get that thrill of killing someone, and then I'll just probably leave it on all the time. And then and I think there's going to be a subsection of people on the PvE servers who just always leave their flag on.
On an open PvP world, and I went through this with World of Warcraft, all my friends chose the PvP server. And so, you start off in safe harbor, so to speak, but then once you hit around the mid-20s, you move out into what they call contested territory, and either faction can attack each other at any time. I'd be in the middle of questing, and here comes some douche.
I don't know. Okay, look, I agree, and I'm not saying I regret our decision to go PvE, but I'm a little bit seduced by the yarn that Josh is spinning over here, especially when you have two factions that I get the Republic and I get the Sith, and man, it'd be kind of awesome to just go all in and really hate those dirty Republic
I'm telling
bastards.
you, this only appeals to griefers and gankers. Josh, are you a griefer and a ganker?
Well,
are you that guy?
Yeah, I'm that guy. but I can explain. I've been griefed and ganked so many
times.
Get off
my podcast.
I'm part of the vicious cycle. I'm part of the cycle. It has to continue.
Well, is it a case where like you just had you had the ultimate kill one day and you had a taste for human flesh and you can't stop yourself anymore?
Yeah, I mean it's one of those moments where like, I don't know, someone had jumped you and they had killed you. And, you get so angry, and they just keep killing you, like 5 times in a row. So you give a shout-out to your guild. You're like, okay, this guy's just being a total dick. Someone has to come help me. Then all of a sudden, like, 10 of your buddies, like, from the guild come to get your back, and they defend you, and they take out this guy.
And then you guys show up.
His guild mates. And so it just turns into this huge war, and it becomes, like, a reputation of, like, I'm from the Coconut Monkeys Guild, and we own this zone. You can't come into this zone, or we will kill you. And it's this huge, like, metagame going on that's on the server where you have personalities going on. It's just so fun.
I could totally see that actually, because there was some article in Wired magazine in the late 90s talking about how, like, what do kids do in real life? Well, they jump from rock to rock over rivers and they fight each other. And what do kids do on video games? They virtually jump from rock to rock over rivers, and they fight each other. And and to me, what you're describing is just essentially you get to have a real life gang experience. You get to have gang wars where you physically kill other guys.
Gang wars with lightsabers.
Yes, but with lightsabers. Yes.
Well, I don't know. I think though. See, here's where it comes down to. I wonder though, what's the quality of the player base for that? Like, obviously everyone going to a PvP server enjoys that aspect of the game, but what about all the other stuff that isn't killing another player when they're not expecting, not looking for you? What about all the other content in the game?
Well, but I mean,
what happens when those players decide to interrupt? Experiencing
but that's just it. Is you don't when you go into the cave, you're in an instanced cave. They can't come into that. They can't screw with it.
Yeah, but getting to the instance cave could be a problem.
Well, yeah, but just like it is in real life. In real life, of course, being the made-up movies of Star Wars.
The lightsabers and the laser beams. Yeah.
Imagine the movies. Han Solo's on Cloud City hanging out. Darth Vader and Boba Fett show up, and Han Solo's like, whoa, chill out, dude. I'm not on PvP flag. You got to back out. Like, that just can't happen.
You know what? Actually, he's making a good... Maybe I'll roll an alt to my alt over on a PvP server.
Yes, good. Welcome to the dark side.
And
Join us.
I guess we don't know how many slots you have, or, I mean, can you essentially... What's the default number? Like, what is it on World of Warcraft?
It looks like everything we've seen so far at all the shows and everything, it looks to be like it's 8 slots so far. I mean, that could change, but they haven't said otherwise yet.
So one thing we talked about in the last episode was I was really hoping that there would be sort of a place for mashup culture in this world, because that was my favorite thing, Josh, about City of Heroes, is that because you were talking about heroes and villains, you could go aesthetically any way you wanted when you dressed up your character, whether it was steampunk, whether it was Batman style, whether, you could make yourself look like Cobra Commander or, a robot or a fantasy person. How much of that do you expect to see or even care about when it comes to Star Wars: The Old Republic?
I don't care about it a whole lot. Like, I definitely want to be able to look different from the people around me. But I mean, superhero games are in like a class of their own. Like, I don't want people to be able to do that because I don't want somebody dressed up like Superman running next to me, just playing around.
Agree.
I just want to have like cool clothes that kind of fit the style.
We see, and I guess I would like to see more different styles in there, because I am hopeful that we saw a hint of that on some of the cinematics that they've released, because clearly you've got people who are dressed as cowboys in space, and you also have people who are dressed as wizards in space. And I'm down with keeping it to the Star Wars aesthetic, but man, I just want variety. I want it to be interesting.
I'm expecting there to be variety. I mean, they've made it look like, while we're keeping you in a certain predefined style, it sounds like there's, going to be thousands of clothing options, and depending on how you mix and match, so I'm fairly confident that you're going to be able to find a look that you dig. Is it going to be right away out of the gate? Probably not. But, they make it look like all the cool stuff you're really going to want to have is towards the end game and out of operations or player crafted, perhaps.
Well, and again, I think there's ample room within the Star Wars canon for a bounty hunter who has lazily replaced entire limbs with robotic implants but not bothered to cover them up. So you can have, I could see a cyborg body walking around that says Star Wars to me. I also can see, an Obi-Wan Kenobi old man crazy wizard outfit wearing guy in that world as well. I mean,
Same.
I'm hoping, and let's face it, one of the iconic scenes of the first Star Wars film was the Cantina band scene, where you had every kind of nutty alien you could imagine, and none of them looked like they belonged together, and yet there they were. So I hope they run with that.
Yeah, there's definitely, that's been kind of the theme in through all the films, is all the different worlds we visited, is they kind of add to that pile of just here's how varied and wild the universe gets. So yeah, it really seems like the people who are, and this is what's got me most excited, I think, is that the people who are behind this game get it. They're as big as Star Wars nerds as most of us are to some degree. I know at least I am. And I think we're in good hands. And I think we're in hands that are building something, like you said earlier at the top of the show, about they're looking at the long term of this game. We're all focused on the game launching. That's just ground zero. So I'm fairly confident that as time goes on, we're going to have all sorts of variety, and we're all going to have our looks and our favorite characters, and right. I don't think you're going to have to worry about that, Brian.
All right. Well, one thing I did want to talk about is the surprising, to me, number of pre-orders that we had. But before we do, it seems like now's a good time for us to thank our very first sponsor.
Accessing sponsored database. Advertiser.
I am happy to say that this episode is being brought to you by Alpha Dog Systems. That's alphadogsystems.com. They build custom PCs to order, Brian.
This is smart. This is smart for them to get the word out now, because people are you're gonna want, if you got your GIMP system that maybe has a video card that crashes every time you start to record a podcast, then you think to yourself, maybe now's the time for me to get something done right. And I love boutique shops like this, where it's like you can get everything done exactly to order, that is built and tested in the United States of America, and according to what I just read here, 2 decades of experience. Back when you were in short pants, they were already making gaming PCs.
Here's the thing about building a hot rod, souped up gaming computer is, like you said, you tweak something, you change something, suddenly your graphics card keeps crashing in the middle of a show. Who do you call? Can you call the people that built your current PC and say, "Hey, why is my graphics card crashing?" Are they going to help you with that?
I'm sure if I spoke Chinese, yes.
Well, not with Alpha Dog Systems, Brian. They offer free lifetime technical support on every desktop computer they build, Brian.
So break it down. I know they got different levels of computers depending on what you're looking to get. What let's say you wanted the Cadillac experience. What would you get from them?
Cadillac experience, you could get yourself what they call the Aries, built either on the AMD Phenom 2 CPUs or the Intel Z68 chipset, the Intel X58 chipset, the best of the best.
And then, and so what? You got the Aquarius, which is they listed as fast, affordable, and quiet. The Scorpio, little powerhouse, portable, great for LAN parties. And I'll tell you, I see something like that, and all I think of is media center for my living room. And
absolutely,
and of course the Prisma.
And not only that, they do custom built laptops now, the Prisma line.
Yeah, no, absolutely. We cannot thank them enough. What's the URL that we can send everyone over to?
You can send everyone, guys, head on over. We really appreciate you like the show. We appreciate you listening. Let's thank the sponsors for supporting the show. They're being the first to step up. Head over to alphadogsystems.com. Check them out. I've had the chance to really get to know these guys over the last couple of weeks. They're very passionate about what they do, and they offer systems for all sorts of budgets. But that's not all. If you do check them out and you like what you see, enter the discount code Cantina.
Wait, we have our own code?
We have our own code.
Oh, dude, now it's on. Look, all you bastards.
5% off any desktop PC.
Bad news, people. Your current computer is broke. This podcast included a virus that will destroy it in 48 hours unless you go to Alpha Dog Systems and use promo code Cantina at checkout.
We now return you to your netcast.
Thank you, guys. We appreciate the support on the show. So, all right, Brian, what do you want to get to next before we get to feedback? And
okay, you put in the show doc here that the and let me ask. Josh probably already knows. He's really plugged in. Josh, do you know how many pre-orders there are for this game?
I actually don't know.
Oh, this will be fun.
Surprise me.
This will be fun. Okay, so we'll for all the home listeners, for everyone, and I'm going to call you out, Adam, to tell me where you got this number. What would you say is the number of physical copies of the game pre-ordered, not digital copies, physical copies pre-ordered for the game right now at this moment, Josh?
In the U.S. only.
In the U.S. only.
U.S.
U.S. America.
I feel like I'm going to sound like an idiot no matter what I say. I will say 80,000. 80,000
pre-ordered physical copies just in the United States of America. I'm going to kick it over to the chat room because we're recording this live. And so far, we have numbers ranging from 143 to 2 billion. So,
so definitely making sure they cover the range.
I'll tell you what, actually, Evil Antics has it closest from what I'm seeing right now. He says 400,000. The actual retail price, 400. Let me get the actual number here. There we go. 400. Where's the number? I can't find it.
489,811 copies pre-sold as of September 27th, 2011, according to the VG chart. VG Charts seems to be the site most of the fan sites are using, and it seems to be one of the only places I can find online that looks legit to track pre-orders sold.
And that's physical copies only in the United States.
It's crazy. Now, Josh,
that blows my mind.
You work for PC Gamer. You look at these kinds of numbers all the time. You deal with this stuff daily. What kind? Is that normal?
You're like, doctor,
Absolutely
tell me,
not.
am I gonna live?
Yeah. I mean, I can't believe that, because I mean, I would have guessed that number like, no, if the digital sales weren't as cool, and if they didn't have that digital bundle on Origin, they got you all that free stuff. Like, okay, that number I would totally believe. But that's incredible considering all the digital deals they have going on. Who are these people that are still buying in stores?
Well,
because I wanted the collector's edition, I bought a physical copy in the store. I Amazon all the way.
Yeah, I'm one of the unspoken digital masses out there, the silent majority. I'm going to say probably, I don't know. Would you say digital sales are going to be a majority or minority, Josh?
Majority for sure.
Really?
Because
you think
as
so?
cool
Because
as the
there's
collector's
such
edition
flack over the Origin thing in EA and in digital distribution.
Yes. No, I hated the
figure
idea
people
of Origin. I hated Origin because I love my Steam, but then they said you have to get Origin in order to get the game, and all of a sudden I'm like, I love Origin. Sure, whatever. Sign me up.
Yeah, that's the thing, is people hate Origin, but it's not really a disincentive to do anything. It's just like, it's a hassle. It's kind of like tying your shoes. Like, you don't hate it. You do it because you have to.
I'll tell you what. I actually, as we are talking this minute downstairs, I'm installing Origin so I can get in on the Battlefield 3 beta. And
Nice.
It's like, look, they've got the muscle. They got the titles. They're going to push everyone in. And to be honest, we're going to have to use it whether we like it or not. And all we could do is cross our fingers and hope that it's even half as good as Steam is. If it's anything like Steam, I'll put up with it.
Yeah, I just want it to not annoy me. It doesn't have to do anything. I don't want it to better my life. I just want it to leave me alone.
But I agree with Brian. I think eventually it's going to be like Steam. It's going to be another program I have on the computer that houses some of those games.
Here's the big question is I reinstalled Impulse recently because I wanted to get my old copy of The Political Machine from 2008 because I'm watching all the presidential debates and stuff. And number one, screw you, Impulse, because it totally forgot that I bought the game and gave me no way. I'd have to buy it all over again for like 20, 25 bucks. But then number two, just having it on, it kept popping up with all these GD advertisements for their deal all the time. And I don't remember Steam ever being in my face when I was in the middle of a Word document, jumping up and shouting out what deals they had right now. But Impulse just got itself uninstalled. And I tell you, if Origin does that, me and Origin, we're going to have words if it tries to pull that on.
There's going to be a fist fight there. Yeah, these numbers are crazy. So this is not normal in the industry.
No, I mean, a lot of MMOs kind of see this initial pulse, but this is bigger than almost the rest of them.
And,
I don't have the numbers in front of me, so I'm wary of saying that this is bigger than the rest of them. But I can't imagine the only other one that would even have come close might have been like Aeon.
The list is saying this is number 4 here. I do have a link.
But if anybody wants to look at the numbers themselves, what website can they go to?
This was VG Chart with the Z at the end .com. And
Gotcha.
then they've got links all over the front page to, and I'll throw that in the show notes on the web page when the episode goes up. So if you're listening, just check the cantinaband.com and I'll have a link to it. So.
Also of interest, it's the only PC game on the entire top 20 list.
Oh, you know what? We haven't even talked about that before. There's no cross-platform with this, right? There's no PS3.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, last time you asked me about any official support from Mac, and no, they haven't announced any official support, but the unofficial word has been down through responses from the developers in the general forums is several of their staff are playing the game in dual boot mode, under boot camp, with 0 issues. So, yeah, if you're a Mac person, it's probably not the first time you've ever heard, you'll have to dual boot or run it, virtually or however you do that magic. But there is, right now, the only platform they are supporting is the Windows operating system. So,
yeah, I'm seeing a lot of angry people in the chat room right now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know a lot of folks creatively use Apple, and you got to do what you got to do. But again, these numbers are just PC players.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I mean, this is huge, and I've been saying this for years. I think the fact that that instead of doing a console refresh of hardware this past couple of years, instead everybody's come out with fancy webcams, calling them game accessories. Means that the gap between PC gaming and console gaming is going to get larger and larger and larger, and it's going to be titles like Battlefield 3 that really showcase the difference graphically, and it's going to be titles like Star Wars: The Old Republic that make people really see, I guess, not thematically, but practically, how much more you could do when you're playing with a mouse and keyboard than with a gamepad.
You'll have like 40 different abilities or whatever.
Yes, exactly. Well, and of course, I'm sure they'll follow World of Warcraft's brilliant method of starting you off with essentially 3 buttons and then giving you new powers very slowly over time, to where you could take a total noob and turn him into a hardcore level 50 wizard.
A god, Brian. A god.
Let's get some feedback from the folks back at home. Of course, if you guys want to leave us a voicemail, it's 330-TCB-TALK. That's TCB for the Cantina Band Talk. 330-TCB-TALK. And our first one here comes from Robert. Let's take a listen.
Hey guys, it's Robert Villegas. I realize right now that what it is I like about TOR isn't so much that it's a Star Wars game, but more that it's a BioWare game. I like the idea that it could be one of the first MMOs that makes it feel that I am in complete and utter control of how the story is told, and as opposed to this whole, free and open story that basically I feel that I'm actually an important character and that I can actually change the world around me. Whether or not that's true or not doesn't matter. It's the illusion of that. So I'm wondering what your guys' thoughts are, whether or not you're excited for this game, more so that it's a BioWare game and less so than it's a Star Wars game. Thanks, guys. Love the show.
Thank you very much, Roberto, and we certainly hope that you were able to exchange all your tickets for a giant plush stuffed animal, because clearly you called us
That's
from
awesome.
Chuck E.
You called us
Cheese.
from a real-life arcade.
Did he really? That's awesome.
Yes, that is that's not like him dropping a sound effect in the background. He apparently called us while he was out at a real arcade.
We totally are okay with that. That's we encourage all of our callers. In fact, feel free to digitally add in like a carnival sound effect in the background if you want on your call.
Exactly. That's a great question. What do you think? How about you first, Brian? What do you think?
Oh, dude, 100%. As you know, we've gone back and forth on this. I am very, very hurt by what George Lucas has done to the prequels and what he did to the original trilogy. And to be honest, I took refuge in the Star Wars expanded universe, and certainly I take refuge in BioWare. BioWare is still batting 1,000 when it comes to storytelling. I have absolutely loved every single title they've done, even ones that I haven't quite finished yet. I'm always engaged by the characters and the worlds they create. And for them to have license in the playground that I have so much affection for, and an opportunity to make right what was done wrong to me for the past 10 years by Darth Sellout, I could not be more excited. I'm totally excited about the BioWare side of things. Like, in fact, you could tell me today, you're like, oh, by the way, there was a falling out. They've lost the Star Wars license. It's all going to be Mass Effect world. Is that okay? The answer, yes.
I agree 100%. Now, obviously, I'm highly invested in Star Wars, but yeah, if it was, if Sony came out and said, we're doing Star Wars Galaxies 2, I would have real serious reservations. 5 years ago, people were murmuring, BioWare doing a Star Wars MMO, BioWare doing a Star Wars MMO. People were giddy then. And yeah, I agree. It's the fact that it's BioWare doing it that's got us all caring so much. How about you, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm in total agreement with you guys. I was hesitant at first just because I love BioWare. Dragon Age is one of the greatest games ever made. Same with the original Mass Effect. They're probably in like my top 6 of all time. BioWare can do no wrong in my books. Dragon Age 2 is kind of a misstep, but the stories are still impeccable, and that's what BioWare has always done. And they've brought on amazing MMO people, which is what I was nervous about. Like, okay, they can make a great story, but can they make a good MMO? But they've brought on great people. Like, I love Gabe. I can never pronounce his name. I'm very sorry to Gabe. Gabe Amatangelo or something like that.
I know, yeah, he's a good Italian boy, I think, and he's got a good Italian name that I cannot get my tongue around, but he seemed very passionate about this.
Yeah, he was one of the lead guys for Warhammer's PvP, and he came on and he's the lead designer for PvP in the Old Republic, and you can totally see that in the game, and he brings a lot of really good stuff. But they've just picked up tons of people like Gabe that really know MMOs. I'm super excited.
Yeah, great question, Robert. Thank you so much for sending it in. Like Brian said, we do have a Google voicemail set up, 1330 TCB Talk. That's 822-8255. Before we run off, I did want to reward Brian. You noticed this week something about the podcast in iTunes. What did you notice?
Oh my gosh! Well, for those of you guys who don't know, our quote unquote comedy album for NSFW is about to drop, and I was searching to see if it was posted on iTunes. So I just searched for my own name, and I was shocked and very flattered to see that the number one result ahead of NSFW, ahead of Scam School and all the other stuff I'm doing is the Cantina Band podcast. And I don't usually, obsessively look at reviews or whatever, but as of this moment, 50 reviews, 50 ratings. We're at 4.5 stars. Just want to say thank you to everybody who's posting nice things on there. Glad to see that it's being downloaded. Now that there's obviously interest, I think it definitely shifted the podcast up in my priority queue, which is why we're here tonight and not next week.
Yeah. But I just want to get this out of the way. Brian, there's been folks who have approached me, like, oh, your show was great. I really liked you guys. Who's Brian? I've never heard of him before. And I was a little surprised because, I pay so much attention to, Twit and that I've known who you are for a very long time. And, very excited that, we're doing the show together. We've been friends for a few years now. So I take you for granted. But folks are like, I don't know who this guy is. So for those who don't know, Brian is super, super busy. And this really was just like, hey, let's do this for fun, see how it works out. And the response has been overwhelming.
So I just got 2 people just picked out their favorite review from iTunes. Quote, I don't even like video games, but this podcast makes me want to try out the Old Republic.
Exactly. 5 stars. Thank you, the real Bill Meeks. We appreciate that. So we just want to let you know that, you're right. We're not going to be a weekly news show, but when we do put out, we're going to try and have a great guest like we've had in the past, Scott or Josh this week. And, we're going to talk about what's going on with the game when Brian can take the time to sit down and join us, because I'm not really interested in doing the show without him. So that's where we're at with that. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think that's about an episode. Is there anything else, before I kind of move on?
Yes, we have to plug all of Josh's awesome podcasts that he does. Hit us up, Josh.
All right. Well, first, PC Gamer. Obviously, I'm associate editor there. We just launched PC Gamer Digital, which is on Steam, which we were all just talking about. We love.
Can I real quick pipe in? This is phenomenal.
Yeah,
this is like nothing you've seen before.
I checked this out the other day too. This is very cool.
I mean, you guys. I know you guys are excited about it, but until I saw it, I thought, well, maybe their enthusiasm is just a little bit over pumped up. But when you get in there, it's not at all. There's no word for it. You can't call it a digital magazine. It's not even a magazine. It's a digital experience. You go literally inside the games with the PC gamer crowd, and they stand over your shoulder and point, the strategy guide for Team Fortress 2, the previews. So excited about I can't wait for more content.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah, I'm really excited. Yeah, it is weekly, and it's awesome. Being able to be more timely and get stuff out every single week. So new episode 2 is going to be launching this Tuesday. If you buy episode 1 or 2 on Steam, you get a free hat in TF2, which is always good. It's what is it? The exclusive killer? Or killer exclusive. Sorry, got it backwards. It's basically like an old-timey press fedora with the little paper on it. Yes, which I love.
Nice.
But yeah, and then
everybody
TOR
loves
Reporter.
Hats in Team Fortress 2. You can't have too many hats.
Yeah, and TF2 is really like that one universal game that everybody loves. I've never
Yes.
met anyone that's just like, I don't really like TF2.
But we mentioned at the top of the show, what else you got to promote?
Yeah,
You got
I'm also
podcast
I'm
up.
co-host of TOR Reporter, which is another Star Wars: The Old Republic podcast. TORReporter.com. Jump there. We record every Thursday nights live, so you can come check us out there.
I'll tell you what, man, I'm really surprised and impressed to see how many different podcasts there are out there. And I think there's going to be, I think a lot of them are fueled by just enthusiasm for the game.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see which ones are still around a year from now. But definitely we sat in and watched you guys record TOR Reporter live. Really enjoyed it. Good experience.
Yeah,
Thanks, guys.
thank you.
Really
And
appreciate it.
We always like to push Twitter. Where can folks find you on Twitter? It seems to be the preferred following medium for most folks. Where can folks follow you?
Please. I'm J Augustine. It's JAUGUSTINE.
Augustine.
I will
Augustine.
make sure.
Yeah.
I am not following you, but I will make sure I fix that as soon as the show is done.
Are we
Brian,
done?
what do you want to promote before we say goodbye to everybody? this
Nothing.
week?
Not one thing. Unless
No. We cannot go without saying by the time,
All right.
if it's
Everybody,
not
everybody go to your web browser and type in "like me, damn it." Like
There
me,
you go.
damn it. DAMMIT. And then that'll take you to my Google Plus page.
Yeah, well, also Brian's got a comedy album with Mr. Justin Robert Young. Keep an eye out for that. It's called Night Attack. I have not listened to it yet. I'm waiting for the official "Let's Do It Now" big push.
Yes.
But I hear
It's only gonna be
hysterical,
$2
and I'm
too.
looking forward to it.
It's only
So,
$2. And at $2, if you get a chuckle, then you should count yourself with good value.
The only reason this podcast doesn't suck is because Brian Brushwood's here. If it was just me, believe me, it would suck. So check it out, folks. I think you'll really get a laugh out of that. As for myself, follow me on Twitter, AT0MXII. And don't forget, the show has a Twitter. And if you want to keep up on when the next episode's coming or what's going on with our guilds and all of that, head over to thecantinaband.com. All of our contact, how to contact us, where to send email, all that fun stuff.
And
is
of course,
there.
thanks to
Folks,
Alpha Dog Systems. AlphaDogSystems.com, promo code Cantina. It'll make you taller.
Yes. So thank you again, folks. Until the next episode, have fun.
Hey, we don't serve their kind here.
What, who, the droids?
We can make them wait outside.
No, droids are fine. But you two will have to wait outside.
Okay.
Why don't you wait out by the speeder? We don't want any trouble.
See, I told you we'd get thrown out.
You're hooligans, I swear.
Dude, we didn't even set anything on fire this time.